Hey, what's going on, everybody? Well, first and foremost, I'd like to proudly announce that I am not, in fact, dead. If you did think that, I don't blame you. But it's just been college, moving to the university versus my branch campus. It's just been hectic, living off campus, getting a job, all that stuff. And when I say college has been busy, I don't mean crazy frat parties or drinking. If that's your thing, I don't take that away from you, but it's not mine. Because first and foremost, academics is what's gonna make me money. This right here is a hobby of mine, but it's not making me money, at least not now. If it does in the future, that'd be really cool. But it's just a hobby because I enjoy talking about this stuff with you guys. So enough of that. Let's get to talking about what this video is really about, and that is phones. There has been so much going on this week. If you didn't know, IFA in Berlin is happening actually as we speak, and there's just so many great looking phones coming out, and this is probably the hardest time of year for consumers because everybody just throws out the best of the best, or maybe even not the best of the best, but they throw out their products because they want money, naturally so. You have things like the Moto X that's starting to finally hit all the carriers. The LG G2, which is actually surprisingly getting my attention. I didn't think it would at first. And you have things like the Xperia Z1, which is really catching my attention. But the more I look at it, the more I read and watch videos about it, and the less it's starting to interest me. And maybe I'll talk about that a little later. Things like companies that you've never even heard of, like Arcos, they're coming out with cool phones. They're not necessarily worth mentioning in the United States because truthfully we won't even get them. But it's a really difficult time for consumers because we have so many different choices. The Galaxy Note 3. To be honest, I think that there is more of a reason to get the Galaxy Note 3 coming from the Galaxy Note 2 than there was from the Galaxy Note 1 to the Galaxy Note 2, but I still don't think I'm going to get it. And the main reasoning for that is I truly just want something that's a little easier to operate with one hand. I don't get the full use out of the Note 2. I don't use the S Pen all that much. I enjoy the processing power and the big screen, but I don't know. It's just too difficult for me to use with one hand. It's just past that threshold that I just can't do it. So this video is going to be relatively short, and it's just kind of talking about what do you think is a good smartphone? What's your opinion? Apple's rumored to have a bigger phone coming out eventually, which I don't think is going to save them because everybody that I've talked to, which has been a lot of people lately actually, they've said that they're getting really bored of iOS and they want to make the jump to Android. So that's pretty cool. People who have been fully integrated with the Apple system, I mean, they'll have Macs, iPads, you name it, and they want to switch. So that's good for me to hear because I enjoy hearing that. And it's not that I'm anti-Apple. Apple's boring lately. iOS 7 is a change, but it's nothing groundbreaking. To their credit, iOS has always been relatively smooth, but it's always been the same for the most part, and changing the color palette I don't think is going to quite do it for everybody. But that's another discussion. There's just a lot happening with phones lately. I mean, you have companies like Sony, who I personally think nailed every single aspect of it. I've been hearing mixed reviews so far of hands-on of the Z1. People want a 1080p screen. They delivered. They want a premium build quality. They delivered. They want a nice camera. They delivered with that pretty well too, I'd have to say. They want a big battery with all that stuff. Well, they delivered 3,000 milliamp hour battery. And they even threw in waterproof, which is something that more people are starting to want. And to me, the Xperia Z1 or Z1, as I've seen it called in Europe, I guess they say Z for Z, which makes sense because you can kind of confuse that with the letters. It's really looking like the ultimate super phone. It's got about everything you could ask for. It's right about the sweet spot of screen size. The bezels I've noticed are a little big because if you compare the Z1 to the G2, I think the G2 actually is a tiny bit smaller. I could be wrong, but they're almost the same size. And this is the time of year where I'm like, oh, I just wish I could go to those conventions because I'd love to be filming them and showing everybody, hey, this is what's happening. But alas, I'm not. Maybe someday, right? But what do you think? What's your opinion? The Moto X is a big controversy because the specs are mid-range, but it's gotten good reviews, very optimized, very quick in performance. And then you have powerhouses like the Note 3 that have quad-core or octa-core, depending on the region, with 3 gigs of RAM, which, truth be told, isn't really needed, but it's cool to have, and no one's going to deny that. The multitasking on the Note 3 is it's how they justify 3 gigs of RAM. You don't need it, but it's cool. I think 2 gigs of RAM will suffice, but I'm not going to complain with more by any stretch. If I were to buy a phone, I couldn't buy one with 1 gig of RAM, but I could be fine with 2. And were there more options with 3 gigs of RAM, I'd definitely take it too. And you got the G2. I mentioned it was really getting my attention because the Note 2 is a little difficult to handle with one hand, like I said. The G2's bezels are very tiny. It's got a very nice camera from what I hear. It's got optical image stabilization, 1080p at 60 frames per second. It's got some pretty nice camera features, beautiful screen. And with that smaller bezel, I think 75% of the front is screen, something like that. That means that it's going to be, I would hope, pretty easy to use with one hand. So we're going to have to wait and find out. But I've said it about 20 times though. What do you think? You walk into IFA at Berlin right now, and they say you can choose any phone you want, any single one. What do you walk out of the door with? Personally, right now, it's between the Xperia Z1 and the G2 for me. I really can't decide between the two. I'd want to hold the Z1 because I love everything it has about it. It's just sweet looking, but it seems like it's a little big, and I don't know if I'm willing to sacrifice that. But then the G2's back buttons, I kind of don't like them, honestly, because think about if you're placing that on a flat table, what's that going to do? It's going to rock everywhere. You know, not everybody uses their phones on a flat table, but every once in a while you probably do. You know, if you're like me, I'll eat a bowl of oatmeal in the morning, and I'll be on Feedly looking at different articles, and that's probably how I'll do it, or sometimes hold it in my hand. What do you think? You walk out, what phone do you walk out with? In a perfect world, right? I do have a couple of videos on the way. Now that I've gotten myself settled in, I will consistently make more videos, and I hope to, because I do have a growing channel now. People are starting to ask questions, which I appreciate, and I will do my best to answer. If I never answer any comments or questions you make, that's because my email didn't notify me of it. It's nothing against you. Probably about once a week, I'm going to start checking every comment that was posted, because YouTube will notify you of every comment, but for whatever reason, my email doesn't. So I will get back to you, I promise, sir. But shoot me any questions you have too, or any requests. I had one developer, which I'm currently checking out the game for, ask for a review of the game. It's a pretty well built game. It's still in beta phase, but expect a video about that as well. So that's all for today. Let me know what the answers to my questions to you, and shoot any questions to me. Once again, this is Peter signing off. If you couldn't tell, I got my mic working now. I need to get a stand. The left channel was broken on the other one, so I finally got a replacement for it. And I got a pop filter somewhere around the house. But yeah, that's all for today. So I'll see you in the next video. See ya.